Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Native Wellness Power Hour on this beautiful Thursday. My name is Gene Tagaban. I'm of the Duckdanton Raven Freshwater Sockeye clan from Hoona, Alaska. Child of a Wishkatan Eagle Shark clan from Juan and Juneau, Alaska. I'm Cherokee, Tlingit, Filipino. And today I'm coming to you from the land of Coast Salish, the Puyallup people. And it's a beautiful day out there. It's a little rainy, a little overcast. You know, it's supposed to stay cold. They might even call for a little bit of snow here coming up this weekend. We'll see how it is. But that's a little bit of me. And we're with the Native Wellness Institute, Native Wellness Power Hour. And this is, let me see, it's sponsored by the Noise Foundation. And this is week 44. And I think it's like around 250th show or program that we've had since March. And we're putting on these power hours with the Native Wellness Institute just as our response to the closure and the pandemic, to bring that wellness to the people, the healing, good stories, good feelings, information, just a variety of things, song and dance. And today I'm with a good friend of mine, and Ed Edmo. And one of my favorite, I got to tell you what, Ed is one of my favorite storytellers around, you know, and I just love his energy and his the way he tells stories as well, you know. And so, Ed, why don't you give yourself a little introduction? And today we're talking about storytelling, the Storyteller's Journey, you know, and so that's what we're going. So introduce yourself there, Ed.
Okay, I'm Ed Edmo. I'm Shoshone, Bannock, Nez Perce, Yakima, raised at Solano Falls. And the cold winter wind.
Native Wellness Power Hour.
Going down from Eastern Oregon through the Columbia Gorge. I'd become up in the mending quilts made by loving hands, by mom, aunties, and grandma. Through the crackle of the fire in the wood stove, my father would tell me stories. I thought I was getting stories. I didn't realizing it was culture handed down from generation to generation. Thank you. Good talking with you. And special. It's my heart good. We're all precious people, you know that. In grandfather's eyes, we're all special, precious people. That's why we're here to share a culture and a way of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. You know, and a little bit on the storyteller's journey. You know, and we're all storytellers. I grew up learning that, and you know, and even with our traditional stories, we are those stories. We are those stories, and they take us and they guide us into this world today. So we'd just like just to share a little bit of these stories, you know, and hopefully, as you listen to these stories, and maybe you're driving in your car, and I hope you're just listening or you're driving, or maybe you're in your office or your home, you know, this is a time, you know, just to listen. Or if you want to like actually watch these two crazy Indian guys here, these two good looking Indian guys here. Oh, and we just want to like share and bring that good spirit to you about storytelling and encourage you that you are a story, your life is a story, and we're all storytellers. And when I talk about our life as a story, oftentimes what it is what makes up our story, our life story, is the moments. Our life story is made up of those moments. And telling your life story, take a look at these moments in your life. These pivotal moments in your life. Those are good stories. Those stories sometimes, you know, I have stories of when I got in trouble, man. Some of those are some of the best stories. And then I can reflect back on the Raven and Coyote stories, you know, those trickster stories, or rabbit stories, or raccoon, or Anansi, the spider stories, you know, or the stories like as Ed started the wind, you know, the land itself. And all those stories, you can reflect it back into the world today, you know. And so, you know, and you are a story, and your life is a story. And what kind of stories do we fill our minds and our hearts with? and how do we even reflect our stories? Because when we walk out there in the world, we walk and we live and we tell our stories. So instead of just listen and Ed. So Ed, real quick, before we got on here, you're asking me how long I've been telling stories. And I think I started when I was about 24, 25, where I started telling them, but I actually started listening to them. And as my teacher told me, before we're storytellers, we're story listeners, to listen and learn how to listen. And I started listening to these stories. I remember elders coming into our school when I was like in kindergarten, telling us stories, and my grandparents, and listening to the stories as I grew up. And even hearing these stories of how my great grandmother would take the telephone and my mom would put the phone up to her belly when I was there in my mama's belly, and my great grandmother would tell me stories and share with me, and so, but I guess I became a professional storyteller, what people say I am, when I was about 27 or so. But I'm just a storyteller. That's I get, because it helps me in my life. So I'm going to turn it over to you right now, Ed, a little bit. How long have you been telling stories? And if you have any good words for the people, or a story that comes to your mind right now.
I've been telling stories since 1974, and professionally since 84. I write poetry, plays, short stories. I like to write also. I do clay. I make clay Indian masks, clay coyote heads. I haven't done that for a couple of years, but I'm busy traveling. I tell stories in schools. I zoom into schools now. I work for young audiences and writers in school and Saturday Academy. I always get this question, are these stories real? I said, some people believe them, like I believe in them too. Because they saved my life, So I'm tired on streets, drinking, slamming drugs, and dealing guns. I'm not doing that anymore. But we went out to Christian Union High School, me and John Spence and John LeGrew and Charlotte Pitt Sugar, talking about being raised in and being raised different. Had some time left over. We didn't tell him. I don't know. Some after told him a legend. Got back to the office. Do you know my legend? Yeah, I forgot that I remembered so many legends my father told me when he put me to bed at night. I remember, I really felt bad for a coyote. He was in trouble like me all the time. Yeah. I learned stories from my father.
Yeah. Do you have any stories? You have a story that comes to mind that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, a long time ago, there was a young boy named Snake. Had arms and legs. Snake liked to run races. Snake liked to climb trees. Most of all, Snake liked to jump off of cliffs into sand. If Snake didn't like anything, he would say, brother or sister does something for Snake. Snake didn't like it, he would say, mother or father did something for Snake. Snake didn't like it, he would say, if grandpa or grandma did something for Snake. Snake didn't like it, he would say, when the other village went to another village to hunt, trade, and fish, Snake ran the race and lost. He told the other racers, the victim's something to eat. Could have been a bowl of salmon eyeball soup. If you didn't like it, they tell the cooks, they sang him a new Indian song. He didn't like it, he told the singers, they told him a story like I'm telling you, a new and different story. If he didn't like it, he told a storyteller. The people had a meeting. What do we do about that snake? He makes us ashamed to go visit. Even when you visit, you sit still, you act good, you eat what you're given, you don't act rude. What are you gonna do about that snake? Every time he loses a race, he says, each thing he doesn't like, he says, listen to a song he doesn't like, he says, listen to a story he doesn't like, he says, all the time he says, we had to take him along, he makes us so ashamed, he keeps saying, The night was quiet in the village. Everyone was asleep. The medicine woman snuck into Snake's lodge. She took out a knife. She cut off Snake's arm, put Indian medicine on him, healed up. Cut off Snake's leg, put Indian medicine on him, healed up. Cut off Snake's other leg, put Indian medicine on him, and he healed up. Cut off Snake's other arm, put Indian medicine on him, and he healed up. All night that night, the people of the village, they rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, and sang a magic song. All night they rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, and sang a magic song. All night they rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, and sang a magic song. All night they rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, and sang a magic song. All night they rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, and sang a magic song. All night they rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, and sang a magic song. Boy, that's a long night, isn't it? All night they rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, and sang a magic song. So Snake was long and round. You know how snakes look today? And you threw them down and they slithered away beneath people's feet. Snakes, they remember what people did to them long, long time ago. What do snakes say when they see human beings nowadays? We shouldn't hiss at people. Nowadays we use our money, our power, prestige, our blood come to hiss at people to make them feel less than. We should not do that. My father taught me that legend. Thank you.
Gonna teach, gonna teach. So you learned your stories from your father.
Yeah.
And listening. So all you out there, just listen to these stories, and they're out there. But I got to share this one, Ed, and so it reminded me of a coyote story. I had a whole lineup of stories that I was going to tell, but when I heard Ed tell this one, it reminded me of this one, and it was coyote. He came out of his lodge, and he looked around. It had been snowing for 2 whole weeks, deep snow everywhere, and he was stuck in his lodge the whole time. And he was looking around, and the snow was bright, and the sun was out, and he's rubbing his eyes. But as he's out there, suddenly his stomach just starts to gurgle. Oh, he said, "Oh, I'm just so hungry. Oh, I wonder if there's any food out here." So Coyote's looking around. All he could see is snow. No food anywhere. Oh, he says, "Hey, maybe I'll go to the top of that hill over there. I'll be able to spot something." So Coyote runs through the snow, top of the hill, and is looking way out there. Oh, didn't see anything. Meanwhile, off in the distance, Brother Raven, he knew the storm was over as well. And so Brother Raven, he popped out of his house, and he was flying around, and he landed right on top of a telephone pole. He landed up there. He's stretching out his wings. Oh, he's going to catch some rays and work on his tan. He took one leg. And he tucked it up underneath himself and sat himself down. Well, Coyote off in the distance, he saw that. He's going, "Oh, ole, look over there. There's something moving. Oh, ole, maybe that's something to eat. Ole." And so Coyote starts running through the snow as fast as he could. Raven just sat himself down on his one leg. Then he looked over, he says, "Oh, look at that. Gee whiz, there's somebody coming over there. Who's that? Oh, that looks like Brother Coyote. Yeah, that's Brother Coyote. Oh, here he comes. Look at him running real fast over here. I bet he's hungry. He's always hungry." Just as Coyote came up to Raven, Raven reached in his back pocket and pulled out a big old chicken bone. And just as Coyote came up there, Raven goes, and tossed that chicken bone over his shoulder. Coyote stopped. His ears fell forward. His mouth fell open. And he went, Brother Raven. Hey, Brother Raven. Hey, brother, I saw you eating something. Whoa, 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 whoa. What were you eating? Oh, Brother Coyote. It's good to see you. Oh, yeah, I know. It's good to see you too. But I'm so hungry. There's no food anywhere. Oh, Nadia, I went to those golden arches over there. No food anywhere. Oh, I'm so hungry. What were you eating? I saw you eating something. What were you eating? Oh, Brother Coyote, I too am starving. I was so hungry. I was so hungry that, yeah. What were you eating? What were you eating? Shh. I was so hungry, Brother Coyote, that I ate my leg. You did what? You ate your leg? And sure enough, Coyote looks up there and sees Raven only sitting on one leg. Oh, that's awful. That's terrible. That's horrible. You ate your leg. Oh, I was so hungry. But I'll tell you what, Brother Coyote, come here. Let me tell you. Come here. I was so hungry, but it was good. It was good. Oh no, Brother Coyote, Brother Raven, how could you ate your leg? Yeah, and it was good. Oh. So Coyote thought for a bit and he goes, hey, how'd you get your leg off? And Coyote reaches in his back pocket and he pulls out his arrowhead. I used my arrowhead. You used your arrowhead? That's awful. That's terrible. But it was good. Hey, brother Raven. Do you think I could use your arrowhead? I don't know, Brother Coyote. Yeah, you betcha. Go ahead. And Raven hands that arrowhead down to Coyote. Coyote took that arrowhead, stuck it up to his leg, looked up at Raven, and Raven looked down at him and said, it was good. And that's just when Coyote sticks that arrowhead, pops his leg right off. Raven jumps up off the telephone pole, sticks out his other leg, flies over Coyote once, flies over Coyote twice, flies down, picks up Coyote's leg, and flies off and says, oh, thank you, Brother Coyote. And Coyote was laying there in the snow all by himself with only 3 legs. He was waiting for Brother Fox to come along. But then that's another story.
Yeah. I got a legend down. Long time ago, Wolf told Coyote, let's go hunting tomorrow. Oh, that's common people work. I'm not a common person. All the men go hunting. I'll stay back and guard the women. I'm in a point where I should stay back and guard all the women. The men can go hunting, go get buffalo. Early morning, they drag him out by his ear and go east towards buffalo country. Yuck, had to do common people work. Clear the area, put the teepee up, go get firewood. Ugh, common people work. Had to build a drying rack. About that time, the wolf came back with a buffalo. Cut a piece of buffalo meat, put in the drying rack, look around. He thought, oh, I'm tired. I'm really tired. I do common people work. Ugh, I don't like common people's work. You cut a piece of buffalo meat, put in the drying rack. I should eat. There's no one around. He cut a piece of buffalo meat, cooked it in the fire with that fat sizzle off, ate it. Nobody will know. I'm all by myself. I cut a piece of buffalo meat. I'm glad I came to buffalo camp. Even had to do computer work. Ugh. Had a piece of meat on the lap, cut a piece of buffalo meat, cooked it, watched the fat sizzle up, ate it. Cut a piece of buffalo meat, cooked it, ate it. Cut a piece of meat, cooked it. That tasted better than the buffalo. Where that meat coming from that tasted so good, lifted the buffalo up. He cut himself by mistake. Is that meat me? He cut himself. Ouch! Oh, ow! He cut himself. Cooked it and fired, roasted it, watched that fast as love, and ate it. It was him. What if over here tastes good? Comes up. Ouch! Ouch! Oh! Cooked it and fired, watched that fat as I ate it. What over here tastes good? Comes up. Ouch! Ow! Oh! Cut himself. Ate it. Tastes good. What he did, he ate himself up. That tastes good. My brother Wolf must taste good too. He walking around the camp, clang, 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 clang. His bones hitting together as he walked around, walking around camp, clang, 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 clang. I'll make a snare and snare my brother Wolf. He made a snare, clang, 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 clang. Put a snare by the trail. Hid behind some bushes. Wolf came back with the other hunters. He stopped short of the snare. Wolf said, wait, Coyote's up to no good. There's no smoke coming off the fire. Wonder what he did. Coyote got impatient. He picked over the bushes. They saw him skeleton, just a piece of meat hanging here, and they're going, They saw that snare. They dropped the buffalo and running back to camp. Moved camp, Coyote ate himself up. He tried to make a snare and snare us and eat us up. Coyote's wife said, no, you were fighting with Coyote this morning. You must have killed him and cooked him and ate him yourself. My husband, Coyote, wouldn't do that. Everyone moved camp except Mrs. Coyote. That evening she could hear clang, 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 clang. His whole bones hitting together as he walked back to camp. It got louder. Clang, 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 clang. Walked around his lodge. Clang, 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 clang. He opened the door flap of his lodge. Oh, my baby. She saw him, just a piece of meat hanging here and there. He go, give me my baby. Put the baby on his knee. Started to sing. Luck, luck, muck, shine. Luck, luck, muck, shine. What a juicy baby mouth full you'll be. Juicy baby mouth full you'll be. Mrs. Coyote had powers to make the baby mess on him. Ooh, take him outside and wash him off. She grabbed a gourd spoon, went outside, put on a boulder, told to cry like a baby. The boulder going, away, away, away. She changed a gourd spoon to a canoe, floated down and joined the people. Coyote could hear, away, away. Don't wash them too much. You wash all the baby taste away. He could hear, away, away, away. I said, don't wash them too much. You wash all the baby taste away. He could hear, away, away. And went outside, clang, 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 clang. Looked around. No coyote, no baby coyote. Saw the big boulder crying like a baby, took it up. All the might, he threw it on the riverbank. That's why along the river, all the pebbles, little pebbles, coyote started that. Along riverbanks, the creeks, some little pebbles, coyote caused that to happen. He followed their trail. Till went up by the top of the mountain. They had a meeting. What are we going to do? Coyote ate himself up. Tried to make a snare his own brother. Even wanted to eat his own baby up. Crane said, I have a plan. Bury me in the shallow grave, put my reed in my mouth so I can breathe. He buried him, took a shallow grave, put a reed in him, and buried him. Devil up with long legs, feet sticking out. Cry really loud because I know Coyote on the bottom of the cliff listening. They buried him, cried really loud. Oh, someone must have died. I wonder who it is. Really important person. They were crying really hard. I hope they're fat. Later on, crying could hear clang, 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 clang. Coyote's bones hit together. They walked along the trail by the edge of the cliff. Got louder. Clang, 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 clang. It got really loud as it got to the foot of the grave. Clang, 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 clang. Oh, my poor Uncle Crane. You just must have died. I heard them cry for you. They cried really hard. Oh, how good you're gonna taste. How fresh you're gonna taste, my poor Uncle Crane. Reached down to bite Crane's foot. Crane could feel hot breath on his foot. Crane straightened up his legs. Coyote fell down and broke to pieces. Tell that story. Don't you think it hurts if people grow up to smoke cigarettes, shoot drugs, get into a unhappy relationship, get beat up? So don't you think it hurts yourself? My dad told me that legend too.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of these stories, thank you, Ed. Kunachish, thank you. And so many people are thanking you right now too. So just in their own way. Just so many of these stories too. It's like they give us lessons and teachings, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's the importance of stories? What's your thoughts on the importance of stories and storytelling?
It teaches values, how to act, what not to do. The coyote acts really goofy to show children how not to act. It's a form of discipline. I'd go to town being in a store, and Grandma would say, "Quit acting like Coyote." Instead of "Shut up and sit down," she'd say, "You're acting like Coyote." I knew I had misbehaved, so I'd sit down. A form of teaching in a adult form of discipline.
Kunachish. I'm taking a look at these messages here on these texts and stuff. I'll be right back. 1 second here. My wife is asking me, and I told you about this already there, but my wife was asking me about, she put in the thing, because you're asking about that character behind me, what his name is. And I didn't know what his name was. Maybe my wife knows what his name is, but I was telling you, these are our sock monkeys. Yeah. This is Norman and Sebastian. We made these for kids. Or actually, my wife did. I just cut out the material. That's all I did. My wife made these with the kids. And so, but yeah, these are the rabbits. And she says, "Where's Norman and Sebastian? How come they're not with you?" So there they are. They're with me. All right. So it's like, or else I'll get in trouble later on. But it reminded me of a story too. And I got this story from Gail Ross. Gail Ross, she's a Cherokee. And she lives down there in Texas right now, but she's originally from Oklahoma. And but sometimes we share or we trade stories. And the story that I tell, the rabbit, many people have heard that story of the rabbit. But she asked if she could tell that story. I said, "Oh yeah, you could tell that story." But instead of just taking the story, she says, "Well, I'll trade you that story for this story." And the story that she traded with me was long time ago. There was Buzzard. And Buzzard had a full head of feathers. All his feathers were smooth and long and beautiful. And Buzzard never hesitated to tell you how beautiful he was. "Look at me," said Buzzard. "Look at my beautiful, full head of feathers. Look at my tail feathers, my wing feathers. And not only that, but I'm very, very smart. And I'm humble too," Buzzard would say. Everywhere he went, Squirrel would go around and Squirrel would be brushing his big fuzzy tail. And then Buzzard would go, oh, Squirrel, don't you wish you had a tail that looked like mine? Maybe one day you'll have a tail that looks like mine. All the animals were there. Deer was in the field looking around, listening to everything. Oh, dear, you think you're so aware of everything and wise. Maybe one day you'll be more aware and as wise as I am. I'm very smart, you know. I'm very smart and humble. Did I tell you I was humble too? Buzzard went around and just told all the beings about how great Buzzard was. Everyone was getting tired of it. Again, oh man, Buzzard just thinks he's all this and all that, smart this, smart that, beauty this, beauty that. Oh, I'm just getting tired of it, everyone said. And so they went to Rabbit. They said, hey, Rabbit, come here. And Rabbit said, oh, what you want? Said, you got to do something about Buzzard. Buzzard, we're just getting tired of him. You need to do something about Buzzard. You said you're so smart and all that too. So you're so smart. You got things to say and teach us. Go do something about Buzzard, dear. We're getting tired of it. So Rabbit, he goes, oh, okay. Back off a little bit. I'll see what I could do. And so Rabbit thought a little bit. And then he goes, I know what I'll do. And Rabbit went to Buffalo. You see, Rabbit knew that Buzzard loved fresh buffalo meat. And so Rabbit said, Buffalo, you go out there in that field over there. You go out there in that field and you lay down. And I'm going to tell Buzzard that there's a fresh buffalo that just died out there in the field. And you're the first one I'm going to tell. But Buffalo, do this. And you'll know right when I'll call out. I'll let you know. Do this. You got it? And Buffalo goes, oh, yeah, got it. We'll do that. Okay. And so Buffalo goes, lays out there in the field. And Rabbit goes, hey, Buzzard. Hey, Buzzard, come here. Oh, what do you want? Do you want to look at my full head of feathers? Do you want to look at my feathers, my wings, my tail? Do you want me to tell you how intelligent I am and teach you something? And remember, I'm humble. I'm a humble person too. Let me tell you about that. Rabbit goes, no. You see, out there in the field, I thought about you because there's a fresh buffalo that just laid down and died. And I know how you love fresh buffalo meat. So you, being such a beautiful person, so smart and intelligent and humble, I thought I'd come and tell you about that buffalo. Oh, thank you, Rabbit. Thank you. Oh, one day, I will give you something. And you'll know it's from me because I'm so smart, wise, and humble. Let me tell you that. And so Buzzard flew out there, circled around Buffalo out there. He's going, oh, look at that. And he flew down. Oh, he started to dance around Buffalo. You know how those buzzards kind of dance around, walking around, dancing around, going, oh, hey, look at that. Oh, that's a fresh buffalo right there. Oh, yeah, I can smell him right there. And Buzzard started to poke around at Buffalo, started poking with his beak a little bit, poking him here in the ribs, poking him in the back. And he was making his way down to the hindquarters because that's what Buzzard really liked, was that hindquarters there. And he goes, oh, look at that right there. Yeah. And he started to lick his lips, lick his buzzard lips. Yeah, I'm going to have some fresh buffalo right there. And you're just about to like poke his beak right into the back end or the rear end of that buffalo. And just then, Rabbit calls out, now. And Buffalo sticks his bum right up in the air. And right when Buzzard went to go poke and grab a piece of meat, Buzzard's head went right into Buffalo's bum. And Buzzard's head was stuck right inside of Buffalo's bum. And Buffalo started to run across the field. And Buzzard's head, he's trying to pull himself out of his head, out of Buffalo's bum. And Buffalo's running across the field. Buzzard's wings are starting to get like a little tattered here, tattered there, broke here, broke there. Buffalo starts to run through the cow patties and the buffalo patties out there in the field and getting it all over his feathers, all over him, all over the place. And Buffalo's running back and forth across the field, and with Buzzard sticking out of his rear end, trying to get his head out of his rear end. And suddenly everybody's just laughing, everyone's cracking up, and Rabbit just goes, oh, let him go, let him go, let him go. And just then Buzzard's head pops out, and Buzzard had no feathers on his head at all. His feathers were all broken up. And he smelled really bad from being drugged through all those cow patties and buffalo patties out in the field. And all Buzzard could do was just shake himself off. Oh my goodness, oh, look at me. And he flew off, and he flew off, and he flew off, and he flew off, and he flew away. And to this day, that's why when you see Buzzard out there, he's just circling around, and he has a red head. And his feathers always look a little bit tattered and broken. And he smells really bad, that Buzzard. But just to let you know, sometimes you just need to remember and think about where you're putting your beak and your head someplace. And sometimes you just need to like pull your head out and think about other people all around you.
Good one, yeah. Yeah, good one, yeah. Yeah.
So I got that one from Gail Ross down there in Oklahoma. And she's another beautiful, wonderful storyteller down there. She tells a lot of Cherokee stories. So what do you think, Ed?
Yeah. This is a Cherokee legend. You tell. A long time ago, Possum had a wonderful, marvelous fairy tale called the Possum's Lot. Said, may I come in? Stop. Don't come in yet. I'm combing my wonderful, marvelous fairy tale. Come in. Did you come to look at my wonderful, marvelous fairy tale? Don't you wish you had a wonderful, marvelous fairy tale? Don't you wish you had my wonderful, marvelous fairy tale? The people had a meeting. Oh, what's so important about his tale? He's got a tale like anyone else. We'll fix him. We'll send Cricket the barber. Come at the Possum's lot and make him stop. Don't come in yet. I'm combing my wonderful, marvelous fairy tale. Come in, Cricket. Did you come to look at my wonderful, marvelous fairy tale? Yes, I came to look at your wonderful, marvelous fairy tale, but it came with special magic grease to put on the fur of your tail to make it shine. You mean the fur on my wonderful, marvelous fairy tale will shine? Yes. Cricket laid on the side. Possum, being a barber of the tribe, took a comb Possum tail. Oh, Possum liked that. He liked someone taking care of his wonderful, marvelous fairy tale. Cricket, using the medicine, made Possum fall to a deep, deep sleep. Cricket, being the barber that took a knife out and shaved all the fur off of Possum's wonderful, marvelous, skinny tail. He put grease on it. It was not magic grease, any kind of cooking grease. Wrapped in red cord, woke up Possum. What did he do to my wonderful, marvelous fairy tale? Don't worry, it's magic. When the drum pounds, your magic will work. You mean when the dance tonight, the fur on my wonderful, marvelous fairy tale will shine? Yes, Cricket told him. Cricket went back to his lodge. Possum took another nap. He came strutting into the meeting, proud of himself. People were laughing at him. Look at a tail. He's skinny to look at it. Look at his tail, skinny. He's shaking over here. I bet that Lapsum's got no tail. Shook his tail over here. I bet Lapsum's got a fat tail. Shook his tail over here. Hear him laugh. I bet Lapsum's got a short tail. Shook his tail over here. He looked back, saw they're laughing at him. He goes, "Oh no, my tail," and rolled over and grinned. Ever out in the woods and startled a possum, roll over and play dead called playing possum. So don't think what you have is more important than other people who have the same thing.
Gee whiz.
Yeah.
I better watch out because I think this, this magical, wonderful, furry beard I got here. One day I'm gonna wake up and my wife's gonna I'm gonna wake up. Hey, what happened to that? She goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, it's got all ratty and terrible. I just cut it off."
Yeah.
So all these stories, Ed, I love, and again, I just want to say, everybody out there, thank you for joining us. We're the Native Wellness Power Hour. We're on week 44, and we're just here just to bring that spirit and such to you, to the people. And so today I'm here with Ed Mo, and we're just talking about the importance of story. And right now we've been telling some traditional stories, and some of those fun animal creation stories and such. And I love those stories because I remember listening to them when I was a kid. When was the first, when you were a kid, how old were you when you first remember listening to these stories? I remember, but sure, my grandma and such, but we also had storytellers come into our school, into I remember my kindergarten class. We had elders coming in and telling us stories, and I really valued that. I look back and valued that. And even I remember my first carving when we were able to take knives into the school. We did our first carving up in Alaska when I was in 4th grade with X-Acto knives. You would never find that now.
Oh, yeah,
but we were carving. I carved a wolf. No, it was a bear, and my mom still has that carving. But yeah, I remember storytellers coming into the school. When was the first time you remember, storytellers or listening to them?
About 4 years old, I remember Dad telling me a legend about a coyote started crying, crying, being bad. Guys, all in trouble like me, right? Dad turned the flashlight on because no electricity, no running water. And it pictured me on the wall. Look at it. He said, "That's you, Casey. My name's Casey. That's you. You're a happy boy. It's only a story. You don't have to feel bad." So he helped me work through my feeling bad about coyote stories. But about 4 or 5 years old, I was feeling bad for a coyote because he was always in trouble like me. Always in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, my grandma would always say that I'm like a little frog because I was always in the water.
Yeah.
You're just like a little frog. You're always in the water. You're always in the water. It doesn't matter how cold it is or if it's raining out or nothing. You're always in the water. Now get out of that water over here. Get up here. Get over here.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but there are those stories, and I want to, everyone we have these stories, and these are traditional stories. They teach us. They give us lessons. And to learn some of these traditional stories, and even if it's through a book, just to read them to your kids, read them to your children, because they will remember. They'll remember these stories. They'll remember the times where you took the time to share with them, to tell them, and to be the storyteller. And then in just reading them, you'll learn the stories yourself. Sometimes in our life too, we have these moments. We have moments in our life, and those are really valuable stories. And sometimes in our family and our children, our grandchildren, they want to know about who you are. And some of the best ways to do that is through telling stories. Be selective. And these stories are healing too, because oftentimes the more you tell these stories, more healing happens for you. And especially when we have to deal with trauma in our lives. And so I want to share this one story, and this is a real life story. And the story I want to share with you is about my dog. Now, my dog Shorty. We got Shorty, and we named Shorty after my grandfather's dog. whose name was Shorty in New Mexico. Shorty was probably about a little terrier dog, about this big or so. And, but Shorty, he came to our lives when I was around 4 or 5 years old. And Shorty and I, we did everything together. We walked the streets together, the neighborhoods, down to the water, down to the creek. And as we're walking down the road this one time, I think I was probably around 5, 6 years old. I don't know what it was. The dog catcher was always patrolling the streets, trying to pick up all these loose dogs. Now, everyone's dogs, back then, nobody's dog was on a leash. Everyone's dog was running around from one house to the next. Everyone knew each other's dogs. But this dog catcher felt that since he had the title of dog catcher, that was his job to gather up all these dogs. So he came after me and my dog Shorty. And we ran home and we hid back in the back bathroom. And the dog catcher came knocking on the door. I saw your boy come in here. His dog's running loose. And my parents go, no, you don't need to. Nope, I saw him come in here. And as the dog catcher's at the door, I snuck out the back door. Me and my dog, Shorty. And we ran into the woods and we hid there. Nobody knew where we were at. And we just happened to be walking down the street one day, And I say one day, it was probably an hour later. And that dog catcher comes driving on down, stops, and suddenly comes out and grabs my dog and takes my dog in his truck and takes it away to dog jail. And I come running home. I'm going, oh, they took Shorty. And I was so upset. And we drove over there to dog jail and he was chained up outside. And I saw exactly where it was. So that night, I snuck out of the house. I snuck over to the dog jail. And again, I was only maybe 5, 6 years old. And I broke my dog out of jail. And I got my dog. And we ran and we hid in the woods. Again, nobody knew where we were at. So they had to send my uncle out to go find us. He knew where we were at. So we came back, and they never took him back to jail, but we taught my dog that whenever we yelled out, dog catcher, Shorty, dog catcher's coming, Shorty would run and hide behind the cars until the dog catcher went by. And then he'd come out and peek around, look around. It's all clear, come on. And Shorty would come out. I want to tell you about Shorty. Shorty always had my back, man. He had my back. It was one day I was in the garage and my uncle, he had a pack of matches there. And each and every one of you knew when you were a kid and you saw a pack of matches there, what did you do? You had to light them. You actually had to see, I wonder if these actually work. And so I sat there, lit one match, lit it, it works. Put it down, put it on the floor, the cement floor that is, and I lit that whole pack of matches. Said, oh, look at all that. And I put them on the cement floor. I'll come back and get them later. I'll throw them away when they cool off. So Shorty and I, we went walking around out in the woods and we came back maybe an hour later. And we came back, my mom and my dad were standing over that little pile of burnt matches. Son, what are these? Matches. Who lit those matches? We told you not to play with fire, play with matches. Who lit those matches? And what did you say? What did any of you say when you were a kid? I don't know. What, do you think they got there by themselves? What, you think Shorty was the one who lit the matches? And I said something I probably shouldn't have said. Yeah, Shorty did light those matches. And my dog just looks up there and my parents said, yeah, I'm the one who did it. I knew Shorty had my back. He had my back, so I did it. I did it. Said, Shorty didn't do that. Now get in your room, you're restricted. So I got in trouble, went back to my room. And as I'm doing this right now, my two dogs are right there. I'm going, my two dogs are showing up here. They're like coming around me. They know that they want to get in the story. But anyways, part of the story too, I want to go on with this is Shorty. It was one day, he was in the front yard and my brother comes running over to me. I was in the back of the house. Shorty just got beat up. Shorty just got beat up. And I ran up there. And sure enough, my dog, Shorty, he was tore up. Thing is, Shorty is tough. But any other dog that comes into our yard, he's got that small dog syndrome. Man, don't come in our territory. But there was a German Shepherd that walked the neighborhood. And this German Shepherd was mean. Everyone was afraid of this German Shepherd. You see, the German Shepherd belonged to Mr. Frank. And Mr. Frank lived across the street, a couple houses down. And Mr. Frank, he drank a lot. I mean, Mr. Frank drank a lot. And oftentimes my mom would have to go to the house of Mr. Frank to patch up Mrs. Frank. And the kids would come over. And my mom's a nurse. And so my mom would go over there. And she wasn't afraid of Mr. Frank. And she'd patch him up. Mrs. Frank, that is. But I want to tell you one thing about Mr. Frank. I actually learned how to tell stories from Mr. Frank. You see, because when Mr. Frank was in his blackout drunkenness, he would pace back and forth in front of his yard and he starts speaking in Tlingit and talking out and acting out these things. Everyone thought he was doing karate or something like that. But then after a while, he started speaking, saying these words in English. And what he was doing, he was telling stories. He was telling stories about Raven, about Bear, about Killer Whale. He was telling all these stories that his spirit went back to, gravitated to in his drunken state. He was telling all of these stories that as if that was taken away from him, all these things, his culture, his tradition that was taken away from him, and he was hiding behind alcohol. And everyone was afraid of Mr. Frank when he got in this state. But me and Shorty, we just sat there and we watched Mr. Frank telling stories. But this dog came and beat up my dog really bad, almost killed him. He was tore up, ripped up in his neck. We had to take him to the vet, get stitched up, had tubes coming in and out of him. But I was angry. I was about 12 years old and I was angry. So I grabbed my shotgun and I was going to go hunt. And I was hunting that German Shepherd. And that German Shepherd knew I was hunting it. He'd be on one end of the street. I'd go down that other end. Then he'd see him on the other end of the street. He was circling around, staying away from me. Now, this happened for a couple weeks. I was hunting this German Shepherd. I was going to get this German Shepherd that tore up my dog. That dog disappeared. And one day my brother comes running up to me. He says, Eddie. That's what they called me back, when I was a kid. Eddie, I want to show you something. And so we went running back into the woods. And my brother lifted up a log. And underneath the log was a plastic bag. And we opened up the plastic bag. And inside that plastic bag was the German Shepherd. And I want to tell you right now, at that moment, all that anger, that hate, and that rage I had for that dog, it went away. And what was there was loss, sadness, sorrow that replaced it. Mr. Frank. It was probably about 10 years ago. I was in Anchorage, Alaska. and I was getting a cup of coffee. As I'm ordering my coffee, I looked behind me, and in line was Mr. Frank, much older, much smaller than I remember him, and wrinkles. And I said, Mr. Frank. And he kind of looked at me. I said, my name's Gene. I lived across the street from you. And he just kind of nodded his head. And I could tell that he didn't remember. You see, I looked at his eyes, and his eyes were just blank. You see, I could tell that the alcohol got to him. I could tell that the alcohol got to him. And he lost a lot of who he was, his thought, his mind. And then I said, Mr. Frank, I just want to tell you something. And he looked at me and says, okay. I said, Mr. Frank, I want to say thank you. Thank you for telling stories. Thank you for telling me stories. I sat there on the street listening to you. And it was as if just suddenly, boom, at that moment, a spark lit. And Mr. Frank had some recollection of who I was and what I was talking about. And at that moment, he says, I want you to thank your mother. I want you to thank your mother. And then suddenly, boom, he was gone again. It was a couple weeks later that I found out that he died. Mr. Frank did. You know, and I always think of him though. I always think of Mr. Frank because you never know where your teachers are going to come from. They can come from coyote, raven, possum, buffalo, rabbit, or the unlikely places of a dog, a mean dog, a loving dog, or a man who is an alcoholic, Mr. Frank. You never know where those stories are going to come from. You see, because we are storytellers and our life is a story. And when I say the Storyteller's Journey, we are the storytellers and we're on the Storyteller's Journey. So think about those moments in your life, those stories, those pivotal moments. Share with your children the stories. Read to them. Learn about the stories for yourself as well. You know, so I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all of you who are out there who just took the time to come and listen. You know, and I just want to say, you know, any last words that you have, Ed? I've really enjoyed my time here with you, Ed.
I did too. I enjoyed it. Yeah. Talking about my name Ed Edmo. Last name is Edmo, EDMO. Our names were Eremo, great-grandson of Chief Eremo. Must have been the first clerk at the fort, wrote Edmo, EDMAUX. That's why they said Edmo. We just changed it to EDMO. My cousins are Alaskan people, last name is Cook. Samson was a Yakima warrior. He was in a cavalry camp, guy in a white apron said, don't shoot, I'm the cook. Samson shot and killed him. Went back to camp, and from now on, my name's Cook. All my cousins are Jesse Cook, Mike Cook, Alice Cook, so they got their name Cooks. Then we got our names. The names changed, you know. I don't have an Indian name yet. Maybe I'll learn it later, so that's my family names. Thank you. Hand up to you, Gene and Shalom for it.
Oh, gonna teach you. I want to just again say we're the Native Waters Institute, and we're sponsored by the Noise Foundation. And I just want to encourage you. We have some workshops coming up here in February. The self-care strategies workshop. That's going to be February 9th and 10th. So take a look at it. You know, and we all need that self-care, especially nowadays. What's going on? You know, and we got to take care of ourselves. And we also have another workshop next month, February 11th and 12th. It's called Choose Respect. Male engagement to stop the violence, the hurt, the harm, and healing of our men. And so if you know any men out there or women who want to learn how do we work with our men, we have a workshop on February 11th and 12th. It's called Choose Respect. And take a look at the Native Wellness Institute website, and we have all our workshops on there. And again, tomorrow, Lavina Louie is going to be on, and she's going to be talking about dark skin, light skin, and so again, thank you all so much for coming in just to take a break and joining Ed and I during this time. We'd love to come back and share some more stories. And remember, you are a story. You are a storyteller. Life is a story. So tell a good story. Ed, thank you. Until next week, we'll see you soon, eh?
Yeah, enjoy
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay, hey, thank you again. So, Wado Salama Po. Thank you.